Welcome to the Articulate Ox podcast. I am your host, Soma79. Thank you so much for joining me. My guest today is UK artist Abb Till. This dude, I've been following him for years. He does a lot of art on dollar bills. Like he'll take a dollar bill and he'll take paint markers and flip it up with some Wu-Tang stuff, some MF Doom stuff. He's done so many of these and they are all so cool. And it's such an innovative idea. And we talk here about how he was able to basically turn this from being, turn art just being something he did in his spare time to being a full-time job, like right around the time the pandemic started. That's something that almost every artist I know has been struggling to do. This dude did it. He's super talented. He's super cool. I hope you enjoy the episode. And check him out on Instagram. Buy his artwork. Go to his website. And yeah, that's all it. All right, man. Talk to you. Peace. All right. Welcome to the newest episode of the Articulate Ox podcast. I am your host, Soma79. I'm very excited for today's guest, artist Abb Till. What's going on today, man?
How's it going, Somi? Okay, man, other things. Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Sweet, man. So you've been on my radar for a long time. I'll just start off with showing a piece that I recently purchased off you. This is a print of it's kind of tough with the glare, but these are $4 or $5 bills with a drawing of Space Ghost meets Danger Doom on it. This is awesome, man. Like,
thanks for having one, man. That piece came out and I was proud of that one.
Yeah, and it's so this really spoke to me because I've been planning on getting a tattoo actually of the Doom mask, like the Danger Doom over Space Ghost, right on the front of my shin, which I'm sure is gonna feel wonderful. But it's as part of like a mini like sleeve I'm doing on my leg. So as soon as I saw this, I'm like, yes, I need this. I think there was a Fader cover years ago that had something like that. I love this piece, man. Oops, all right. So you do a lot of your work on like American currency, correct?
Dollar bills, yes. I've worked on also like euros and pound notes, but dollar bills are most requested, and they probably look the best out of all of them.
Because I wasn't sure, because I know you're located in the UK. I wasn't sure if you were British or if you were like maybe an expatriate or whatever. But because I was curious to how you landed on American currency. Is it due to the fact that it's particularly easy to draw on, or is there a lot of your customers in the US?
Well, yeah, like I've been in the UK all my life. 29 years old. I live in England. I did one bill for myself, the first one, which was it would have been end of 2020, and I was made a Wu-Tang, a cream bill.
Of course,
dollar
good
bill.
Place to start. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
And then that was it. And then someone else asked for one, and then someone else asked for one, and then the commission just started rolling in with dollar bills, and I've been pretty busy with them ever since.
Yeah, that was one thing because like I said, I've seen your stuff posted in groups in different Facebook group. I think Wu-Tang and Doom ones for the past few years. And people go nuts for them. They love it. They look. Yeah, it's crazy. They look so crisp, too. I'm assuming you're using like paint markers or something of that extent.
Yeah, I use acrylics. They're like a paint pen, but they soak up real nice on the bill. They dry perfect. It's always perfect with this pen. I've never had any issues.
Yeah, that's what's pretty. I mean, because I use a lot of paint markers too. I often run into the issues where either you get too much ink or not enough ink, and I have totally screwed up so many pieces of art just because of that. But you really nail it. Your lines are amazing. It's crisp as whatever, and the designs are really inventive. And during this, I'll show some of the pictures, like covering up us for a little bit of it so people can see it.
Wait.
So this started with just you had a dollar bill sitting around and you're probably can't spend it much over there and you just decided to draw on it.
I think it might have been a dollar bill from my last trip to America, a spare bill left over. And yeah, so I had an idea to do a Wu-Tang one. Previous to the dollars, I'd made drawings. I've been doing like comic book characters like from the movies or hip hop artists, any kind of musician or actors. I'd do pencil drawings of them, like realistic style. I've been doing that probably part-time since 2016, after work on weekends. And then, yeah, since I started doing the dollar, they kind of took over.
It's funny you mentioned
Uh,
the portraits thing. So in 2015, I had this. I was trying to do this painting of The Rock, and there's this picture of like Dwayne The Rock Johnson holding a koala bear, and for some reason I thought it was really cool, and I wanted to do this painting of it. And every time I painted it, it looked like Barack Obama, like at best. And I was like, this sucks.
never, gotta keep
Yeah,
practicing. Good
yeah. So
takes.
I decided that for 2015, every single day I draw a portrait. So I drew 365 portraits that year,
Yeah,
and then by the end, I was, I
you
could
look
draw a
back and you know
face.
progress. You can see it.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, I always felt that was one of the things that made me, if I couldn't draw someone's face, I couldn't, I almost felt like I couldn't call myself an artist, or I felt like it was a big hole in my repertoire. You said you started in 2016. Did you find that, was that a struggle for you to start adapting to draw faces? And if so, how long did it take you to work through that?
Yeah, I'd say fight. It'd always be a fight. What I did, I think the first piece I did was Jim Carrey as the mask, and it was tough. I think he's trying to get the expressions. The facial expressions is the hardest part. But yeah, you always feel like there's more you can do. You never feel like you're quite there with it, and it's just one of those. You have to just can't criticize yourself too much. You got to give yourself some self criticism, but at the end of the day, you can do what you can do,
Yeah.
and you look back, you can see, you know, what I mean, you can see the progress you've made. Definitely.
It's funny too, because people something you kind of forget that people are always going to look at your art differently than you do. Because I had done some art, some portraits that I thought was just perfect. And I remember this person who hired me to do a children's book for like, I like your portraits because they're like they look kind of like them, but a little off. And I was like, well, thanks for the compliment, but that wasn't what I was
Yeah,
going for. And
the
you
backhanded
realize,
compliment.
yeah, I'm like, I guess I'll take it. But you realize that like as long as you get someone most of the way there, they kind of fill in the rest,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
so it's like you can be your own worst critic yet still impress people at the same time. It's funny, but you do have to get over that one little hump where it's like, there's definitely the first month or so people would be looking at it like, is that Huey Lewis or is that Denzel Washington?
Yeah,
I'm like, it's
that's what
Gwyneth
it,
Paltrow. Like,
I mean, to this day, still, I criticise my work so much. I like
yeah.
look back at it when I paint a piece and I'll send it off to be posted, and I'll look back at the photo and think, and I'll start criticising even more. But you can't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But what's
You
funny
can't.
is like, as somebody has bought art for years, I have art around that I bought 20 years ago, and I never look at it and go, man, I like this back then, but I see something now. This thing really sucks. It's like that's something that we do as artists, but it's like I've never done that as an art consumer, you know?
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I never any artwork I bought back in the day, still till now, I think it's perfect. I look back at one of mine from last month, last year. I'm picking about 8 points of all of it.
Yeah, you're like, what a fraud. Like,
Aaron,
who is this person?
can't believe I did this.
Yeah, I know. And someone paid me for it. Should I call them and give them the money back? It's just the way
Yeah,
we find a way to torture ourselves, even when things
yeah.
do go well.
So, so
Yeah.
we get over it, man.
Yeah, I know. It's like I remember like I did an art show and like I did pretty well at it, but I'm like, it was the pieces people bought that bothered me. I was just like, but if they bought the other ones and added up to the exact same total, I would have been so much happier. And I'm like, why would I do this to myself? Like what's like,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
crazy, man. It's crazy.
yeah, life's going too well. You got to find a way to sabotage it. But
Yeah.
um, so one thing that really interests me is I saw a post you made maybe a few months ago. You talked about how this has become a full-time job for you. Is that correct?
Yes, for 3 years now.
I know that is as somebody who's, I've sold art for years. I mean, I don't know that I've ever really made that full concentrated effort to make it full time, but I've made enough of an effort to know how hard it would be for me to make that happen. So I've
Yeah.
never tried. A lot of artists out there, that is their dream. And not only are you doing it, you're doing a full-time job doing art, it seems like you're doing stuff that's true to your passion. Like, you're drawing Wu-Tang and Doom and stuff that you seem to love. Like, what was the path to getting to be full time on your own terms like? And can you talk about that a little bit?
Honestly, I was kind of pushed into the deep end with it. It would have been April 2020. So in England, we went into our first lockdown countrywide in March, I think it was, or mid-April.
That's two. Yep.
So I was off work for I think 4 weeks, um, and I was chatting to one of my artist mates. I used to work with him. He's a tattoo artist, and we were both chatting for about an hour on the phone. and I kind of ended the conversation with, "I'm gonna quit my job in a month's time. I'm gonna push art career." And I wanted another month's wage just so I could stock up on all my materials and get everything stocked up. And then like 2 days later, I got a call saying I've been made redundant, so I lost my job. So that was it. I'm doing it. I'm going in with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, the first probably 6 months or so were hard, trying to build up a solid client base. So I wasn't really selling art prior to that. So the first 6 months building up a client base, letting everyone know I'm working for commission now. I'm out there, you know what I mean, hit me up.
Yep.
But then from then on, it's been smooth sailing, I could say. Yeah.
Wow. That is pretty wild. It's like, because I talked to a battle MC from Alaska a few episodes ago, and he basically started a year ago, and he's already up to like 10,000 views on YouTube, and he's crushing these battles, and he's flying all over the world. It's like so many people struggle so hard to ever make it anywhere, but there is something about just being that right person in the right place with the right determination. Like, you spent years developing your skills, so this wasn't like luck or anything. Like, you know, this was you taking a leverage skill and having the right time to strike.
That's what it was. Yeah, just trying to utilize what I could do, and I was ready for it. I think deep down I was ready to make that jump. I'd been putting it off for a few months, for a while at least, and then having that conversation with my friend on the phone, that changed my mind completely. I was committed. That pushed me over to that side.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, never look back.
It's crazy. It's funny how the quarantine and the pandemic really changed a lot of artistic paths. I mean, for me, I had been a rapper years ago. I used to perform all around Boston, like opening up for like, you know, national acts that would come. And then I quit for 10 years. I heard this rap song by Percy P, and I was like so blown away by him. I'm like, I'm a fraud. I'm done. Can't do it at all. And actually now I'm working on a song with him. But so then like in the pandemic, I was like, you know what? I'm stuck in this place. I got to do something. And I started rapping again. I started reaching out to some of my favorite rappers and trying to collaborate and hire them to be on songs. And it's like I came out of this pandemic a totally different artist than I went into, and I'm so much better. And it's like there was all this talk of the negatives of the mental health of it. My mental health is a lot better because of the effort that I put into it. You know,
exactly. It's the mindset you had during that, I think, that could affect how you did. I know a lot of people who came out of it like how I did, like sort of, I wouldn't say thrived through, it was a horrible time, but people who turned it around and came out better. You know what I mean? I know a few people who are in the same position as me who have made something of it completely different to what they were doing prior to COVID.
Yeah. I mean, it's like there's something to be said. I mean, it was a shitty reason to have to do it, but that when you can pause and can have that moment to question, okay, is this the life that I want to be living? You know, that's time. You know, when you're living, you know, paycheck to paycheck, and you're just trying to get by, you never have those times and opportunities. It's like, and to have that sort of forced upon us, I mean, is, you know, it's good that there was a silver lining to it. You know, we all lost people, but it's still.
It was a good pause for people to like to try and just assess their own situations, yeah, like you say.
Yeah, a lot of time to look in the mirror, you know.
The world pause, man, for like a year.
Yeah. So we talk about building up your client base. I can't remember, because like I said, you've been on my radar for a while. I don't remember how long I've been following you, like on the social media in particular. But where did you start at that point? And like how how big was your audience when you sort of started, and what did it take to build it up?
My audience at the time, I'd say, was down to Facebook friends, local people to me. Cause the drawings I'd make of these characters, I'd get prints, I'd sell prints, and that's how I first started building a client base.
And I'll mention too, these prints are really beautiful. Like if you were to looking at this right here, you could not tell if these were real dollar bills or prints. Like, your prints are really excellent. And I would say too, I kind of felt like robbing you because these are a bargain on your website. So go on your website and buy either some real dollar bills or these prints, because they look really, really good. Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you with a compliment, but you were saying.
That's cool. What was I saying? Well, yeah, I'd probably say still similar now how I operate with my work. It's Facebook and Instagram, and a lot of it's word of mouth. For example, out here in Tenerife, one of the coffee shops I go to, the guy who works there, after painting his drone last week. Did you see the drone? I did.
Yes, was it Sideshow Bob, or was it a Simpsons character, right?
Sideshow Bob, yeah.
Yes.
I'm chatting to him in there about how it's just word of mouth because he's asking as well about my artwork. And while we're showing him the drone, two of the customers come over. Well, two of the guys have come over, and now they've ordered work off me. That was literally just from them being there at that time, catching hold of what I've done, and it's a lot of word of mouth. How I get about.
It's funny because, like, they say someone like Ted Williams was not a good hitting coach because, like, he was just like really good at hitting. So what is he going to teach somebody? Like, he never had to struggle. And there's a
Yeah,
part of the thing where, like, when I talk to you, I'm like, it's like the reason why you built up an audience because you were doing something very innovative that people hadn't seen before. Yet you totally, the second you see it, you totally get it. And it's like you just sort of, it's like the reason word of mouth works great when you're really talented. Like, it doesn't work so good when you're kind of just like, drawing on a napkin. But like the secret to your success is that you're really good.
I think one thing that goes in my favour is you don't see paint dollars a lot.
Right.
I know quite a few guys who do them. That's because of me doing them. I've connected with these people through that. But in general, you don't see it a lot, and people don't see it a lot. You know what I mean? So you see it, and you think, what's that? It's a painted dollar. And you start thinking, and then, like say, someone will see something and say, "Well, can you do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can do any idea you want. Yeah, I think within reason, I can do whatever you want."
I got a
And
few that
then
are coming your way that I've been trying to think. I definitely want one that's based on Digital Underground, Humpty Hump, which I think you've done some one for him before. I don't know if maybe I'm making that up, but though I'll probably be
I don't.
hiring you to do that at some point.
Oh, sweet man, hit me up whenever, bro. I'm always
That's
available.
I think it was that maybe Eyes Wide Shut and Tron. I was gonna hit you up soon about it, so stay tuned. We'll talk about that offline. But like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
anytime.
crazy because the cool thing about your work is that you can look at it and very quickly go, oh, but what if you did this? And then it's like the ideas feel almost endless, and like the colors pop so well. I mean, it's I'm really, really impressed with how clean these look. Like I said before, I struggle with these paint markers. I saw a little bit of your process the other day on a post you made, but can you walk through how, and I don't want you to give away too much of the special sauce, but how do you approach this from a technical drawing perspective to get it to look so clean?
Well, I'll start with when I get the bill. I'll always inside the border area. I'll always paint that white first, get a nice clean white background. So then all the colours will look a lot brighter. Usually I'll one layer of colour. Sometimes I need two layers, but having that white background helps more than you'd think with getting the colours to pop. With the line work, I use just like fine line ink liners, and they go down real nice as well. Sometimes they'll clog up with the paint if you use two or three layers. But in general, that's pretty much it. Man. Not a lot to it.
And are
And
you
it depends
sketching it
what.
out? You sketch it out, I'm guessing, in full pencil ahead of time. And
Yeah.
I mean, I guess part of it is having just a really like a not shaky hand, because I think that's obviously where a lot of, there's
What
a
helps?
certain command to command to the actual touch where it's like, you either have it or you don't.
Yeah. One thing that helps with getting the drawing on is the details of the dollar bill. You can still faintly see through that white layer, but you can use that as like a grid. So I'll layer my sketch over on my iPad over the dollar, and I'll just see where the lines connect up, and that helps you get your sketch on a lot easier than just doing it with no grid there. The serial number you can use that as a grid, or the present in the background you can use that as like this line goes from here, it cuts through this line. That makes sense.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. What,
Yeah.
as somebody who stared at American currency for probably a lot more than even most people who live in this country, do you ever see any, like, what's like the weirdest, I always think, have you ever seen Half Baked?
No, I've not seen it.
Okay, there's a
I've never.
scene in Half Baked, which is a Dave Chappelle weed smoking movie from like the late 90s, where I think it's Jon Stewart is talking about getting high and looking at the back of a dollar bill. And he's like, "What's going on over there, man?" And like all of that. Like, and there's all these people over here. It's like, "Oh, you folded this way, and it's the Illuminati, and you folded this way, it
Yeah,
tells you to go fuck yourself." And it's like, all right, man, whatever.
yeah.
And what, you ever had any weird thoughts looking at a bill and going, what were they thinking when they made this?
I've not had weird thoughts like that, but on the back of some of the bills, the $2 especially, there's a lot of tiny faces. Like they're like 3 mil, 4 millimeters. And I always think, how small can I do a doom mask, an MF doom mask? How small can I get one?
I have a lucky $2 bill in my.
If you look on the back, there's
Yep.
quite a few small figures.
Oh, there are a lot of faces.
So I'll always wonder, can I get an MFD mask on one of those?
That would be really cool looking. I'm looking showing the wrong side.
Yeah,
Uh, Everyone Google it. It's a $2 bill. It's funny I
they're
have
pretty.
this because this is a story that probably is going to be embarrassing for me, but my last guest who's a film director who I've known for years and actually just is working on a film now with Kelsey Grammer, speaking of Sideshow Bob. Him and I were shooting a documentary up in Buffalo years and years and years ago that never got made, and it was the last time I ever went to a strip club. This is like maybe like 2001, and I was with my friend who's I want to out him, but he's a professional Tom Cruise impersonator, and we're in Buffalo, and they gave all of the change in $2 bills so that everybody would tip twice as much.
Uh,
And I'm like, that is like kind of a genius business model. And so
yeah,
that is one of the $2 bills I have in my pocket.
definitely small idea.
Oh shit, there's a 5 in here. All right. I've already made money in this podcast. That is really cool. That's a cool idea. So one question I had is, so where are you getting, I mean, I'm assuming you must be going out of your way to get the flattest and, best bills that you can. I mean, are you just finding some bank over there that's able to hook you up, or are you getting uncut bills, or?
I just go to the post office, local to me, and I've been going there for long enough now. The guy always gives me the brand new dollar bills. He always
Oh
sets
yeah.
those aside when I go in. So I go in probably like once a week and collect loads in bulk.
Yeah, that's where
But yeah,
relationships matter. Like you need your
yeah.
friends in those special places.
So I've been chatting to him now. I've been going there for like 2 or 3 years now for these dollars. So he's
Wow.
clicked on there what I use them for. He knows what I do with them.
Yeah.
So he always gives me the brand new ones.
And
And even
are some of them uncut? Because I feel like maybe that's just the illusion. Like the one you did of Biggie recently, which is my favorite Biggie thing with the full the
okay,
colorful sweater. Like, is that an uncut set, or is that just the way it looks when
that
you present it?
that's an uncut sheet. So one of my customers, one of my guys from Cali, he'll send me out to get me a few uncut sheets sometimes. So he can get me the 4 uncut sheets. He's got me 8, a 10. He's got me a big 32 sheet. Still needs painting.
Oh, you have any
That's
ideas
going
for
to
that?
be a piece. I'm not too sure yet what I'm going to do, but it'll definitely be a dedication to hip hop.
Yeah, man.
Um,
Maybe like
and he
a
also
maybe
gets
like a Mount Rushmore or something. I don't know. It's your idea. I'm gonna start. I'm not
George
gonna.
today.
Yeah. You
I
what?
also thought of Wu Tang as the Last
I,
Supper.
yeah, you can fit them all in. I had an idea for a big Wu-Tang piece I was gonna do. I found this huge like old like long landscape painting somewhere, and I just painted the entire thing yellow. So like the frame and everything was
Yeah,
bright yellow. I was gonna stencil Wu-Tang faces over all of them. I got like 2 of them done, and I was
dope,
like,
man.
my stencil of You God was not coming out that well, and I was like, moving on. We'll come back to this.
You can never go wrong with Wu Tang art. Every time it hits.
Oh God, that is crazy because I've done a bunch of Wu Tang art. I do t-shirt designs through my main man Pat, and you do find that the ones that sell the best are Wu Tang and MF Doom. People there's an unquenchable thirst for those particular brands in the hip hop world. Do you find that like who is really? I'm guessing maybe a Biggie might be third, but who else are the people that are in most demand? The artists that
The
you most
people
get at?
you see that last part again, sorry.
Oh, who are the artists like besides the Wu Tangs and the Biggies and the MF Dooms? Who do you get the most requests for to do art of?
MF Doom definitely.
Yeah.
That'll be number one. I've had a few Post Malones.
Oh, I
I've had
hadn't
quite
thought
a
of
few.
that.
Yeah. That's people local to me who've had those. Wu Tang definitely. I'm trying to think who else. Cause I would have said Biggie, Wu Tang, and Doom. I've had quite a few Nas.
Yeah.
I've done quite a few Nas. Yeah. I'm trying to run through my page in my head now.
Yeah.
See what
You
else.
know what's one I really love? I'm a big Slick Rick fan. I saw that one on your website too, man. That's beautiful. Like he's one of those characters like him and like even the Biggie thing where just their entire being is so
Yeah.
so there's so much rich stuff to use. Like Slick Rick seems like somebody who walked out of a Bond movie. Like it's like when you see him, he seems like he could be like a dude that Bond plays like Baccarat with in like the first act of like one of those
Yeah.
movies. Like that's just the way he is, like
100%.
walking down the street.
it's no persona, it's all him.
Yeah, yeah. Like I had a friend once who was neighbors with Bjork for a while, and he's like, she's Bjork every day. She is like, maybe not a
What,
swan dress, but you can tell she's Bjork. She's not just
what you
like,
see.
kicks walking down to the Cumbies.
Well, on the subject of those big ears, that that 10 sheets,
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna try and do a series of those. To be honest, I'm gonna try and get some more. I'm gonna try and do like a hip hop series, and Slick Rick would be one of those guys in the series.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna try and the more tens I can get, the more will be in the series. I want to do it ODB also,
Oh, that would be cool.
Prodigy. The guys that come to mind the most are East Coast guys. But I need to get some West Coast in there too.
Yeah. I just did a song with ODB's son, Young Dirty Bastard. That's gonna be out on my
Yeah,
next album. Yeah, and it's like it's like you don't interact with these people that much when you work with them, but you definitely got the vibe. And like he sounds just like his dad
the energy.
on the hook.
Yeah,
And I'm just like, yep, there's
only
the energy that I wanted.
those. You got the energy down on.
Yep, yep. So that's cool. So one thing I noticed too, you have some art in the Hip Hop Museum in Washington, DC for sale. If I'm not mistaken. I did a little Googling and they've been on my radar a little bit. And it looks like a couple of your bills are for sale there, one with Nas and one with Ghostface. How did you get involved with them?
They actually reached out to me. They, I think that would have been 2021. I did that set for them, and they just sent me a DM on Instagram. I think they might have had two sets off me now. But yeah, well, they reached out to me, to be honest, and yeah, I was more than happy to do the work for them.
That's cool. This is
Grateful also.
yeah,
That
I
was a big
love these pieces, man. Like it's damn.
Thank you.
Jealous. I said so it's a hard time using paint markers. I feel like I gotta go back to the drawing board a little bit because I've ruined like little pools like ruin everything for me.
Always a
Yeah.
bit of practice. Like when I look back now at ones I did the very start, I can see the progress from just learning all tips each time, learning what works better,
Yeah.
or how to do things better on the bill. It's slightly different to how I used to do my drawings. The technique is different.
Yeah.
So getting down to that it took a bit of time.
What are some of the weirdest things people have asked you to draw? Is there anything in particular that somebody?
I'm trying to think if I've got anything on my commissions now. That's weird. Oh, it's not a dollar bill, but I got asked to paint on a. Did you see the PS5 covers that I painted?
Yes.
I got asked to do a Nicki Minaj as a Brat still. That was probably one of the strangest ones I've had lately.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So are you really so I know you're doing mostly dollar bills now while you're you're down in the Canary Islands now for about a month and you said you're doing mostly dollar bills. Like
Yeah.
what what else do you do? Like so in terms of like I think people who see some of this art that he's flashing there are I'm trying to help with your word of mouth here, and I'm hoping to make a few sales off this. So what else do you do? And like, it seems like it's really a matter of just the imagination of you and the person buying it. Like, can you do basically what you do in almost anything?
Painting wise, like can I paint on anything? So I've painted dollar bills, skateboard decks, canvas, vinyl records.
Oh, like you paint actually on the vinyl?
Yeah, I painted one last week while I
Holy
was out
shit! Why
here.
have I never thought of doing that? That's an awesome idea. That's like I have so
I
much
think
just like trash vinyl that won't even play, and like, oh man,
I've got a ton of them. I painted the MFD one first. That would have been last year,
oh,
and then I'd one as a commission, which I did like last week. Yeah, I've painted PS5 covers also. But yeah, usually I can paint the materials I use and well with anything besides glass. So I can paint on anything, pretty much I'd say.
wow.
Within reason, like I can
Yeah.
paint on most plastics, wood. You can go down great on wood, papers. But yeah,
Um.
like the other day I painted that drone. I never thought I'd paint a drone, but
Yeah.
it could be done, so I did
Yeah.
it.
What so you mentioned that you just started doing the bills a few years ago. What like take us through a little bit about your development as an artist, prior to that. Like when did you start doing art and had it always been your dream to sort of do this full time?
I've definitely always been interested in art throughout school, but I never did well in school. So I left school in 2011. From then on till 2015, I'd say, my close friends, they started getting into art and they were tattoo apprentices. So I'm seeing them every day, seeing them painting and drawing, and that's got me back into it. That's where my motivation came back. I'd say from the people around me, from them just getting creative. And look at say that those guys are still with me now. Like I'm still seeing them guys all the time, and they're still artists. They're crazy artists, man. I look at their work and think, what's going on?
Yeah.
What am I doing wrong? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It is amazing how with art, we're all sort of, most of us, our first exposure to art is something that's very, very mainstream. And that's what sort of opens our eyes and gets us excited. But the more artists I talk to, the more I find that it's really the people closest to you in your life that provide the most day-to-day inspiration that really take it, like, as I remember seeing like Michael Jackson Thriller when I was a kid. I'm gonna age myself. That was probably the first cassette I ever had. And it's like that was something like, for like a 5-year-old in a small town, like, 25 miles outside of Boston, it's like there couldn't have been anything further away than Michael Jackson and his his glove, which is probably a good thing considering who I'm talking about. Whatever, we'll leave that joke there. But then it's like that is it's like art at that level is such a it's such a like a vague concept. It's not something that you touch on, but it's those people that you see every day, like even if it's just like a grandfather who's a craftsman at like making birdhouses. It's like you start seeing people that, oh, this is a process that you can break down and learn. It isn't just an abstract thing.
Well, when you see the time that goes into it,
right?
Definitely. Because a lot of people think this takes 2 seconds to paint a piece. It takes hours. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of knowledge.
How long before you how long did it take? Like, because most people, we have talked a lot in this podcast about like the pyramid of success, which sounds like I'm about to try to sell you something or bring up like a PowerPoint. But the way I talk about it is that, say there's a pyramid, and I talk about this usually in terms of like hip hop. At the bottom, if you want to be a rapper, all you have to do is call yourself a rapper and make 2 words rhyme. You don't have to buy a guitar, you don't have to buy a computer, you don't have to buy anything. All you have to do is call yourself a rapper. The next step up is to like write a song, and you'll lose some people between those 2 steps. And then it goes up to record a song, and then it goes up and it goes all the way up. And once you've gotten to that point where you're actually playing shows, you're so far above all those other people. That's my inspiration not to quit. Is like I cannot quit because I've already outbeat all these other people. And
exactly.
And that's like what was it for? But those first steps are the hardest because there's no faith you're ever gonna, belief in yourself will take you a little ways, but like, what got you through being like, I am absolutely objectively terrible at this, but I know I should keep going? Do you relate to that?
I just had crazy motivation. Like I wouldn't let a setback just distract me too much. I'd then use that to push forward even more on the next piece. I'd always try and come back harder.
Is there anything you attribute that to? Is it something you feel like you're born with, or is there someone in your life who you think helped you with that?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. It might be something to do with people around me also. Having the right people around me in the times you need them most. I'd probably say something to do with that, but I don't actually know, to be honest.
It's funny, like I was talking about how easy it is to screw up, a piece like that. And you mentioned how you're influenced by a lot of tattoo artists. I dig tattoos. Obviously, you dig tattoos too. Like, that idea of you can't screw up on a tattoo terrifies me. Like I would never want to tattoo like I would do myself because if I screwed up, I'd wrap my mind around it and be fine. But like that, I mean, it's like, what is it to mess up a dollar bill? It costs you $1. But do you ever have any interest in doing tattoos, or do you relate to that?
Yeah, man. I was an apprentice between like mid 2017 till 2019ish. I was as a part-time apprentice. I'd work my full job during the daytime. I'd work on my days off at the apprentice job, and that was with some of the guys who also inspired me and motivated me from the start. But yeah, I know that feeling when you can't mess up with a tattoo. I think I did about 10 myself.
Yeah.
Before I left, and then man, it was crazy.
Well, so what leads you to do 10 and go, no, this isn't for me?
Say that again. Sorry.
What leads you to do 10 and then go, no, I'm gonna do something else? Like what was it about those?
Life I had to leave, and I didn't want to leave, and the shop where I used to work, I still go and see those guys regular. I still chat to them regular. We didn't leave on bad terms. If they ever decided to get back into tattooing, I'd definitely go straight back to that shop.
Oh, so you
Yeah,
feel
man.
so you it wasn't that you felt like this wasn't for you. It was the timing and stuff. So you feel like you could probably pick up a tattoo
Yeah,
gun and get back at it.
I think timing was a bit of an issue, but all the guys there, they understood. We didn't leave
Yeah.
on no bad terms, nothing like that. And they
You
said I'm
know
always
what?
welcome back.
As I
Luckily,
think about it, like a tattoo of one of your bills would look really dope. Like in the right spot with the right thing, like that would
that'd be
that would
crazy.
look pretty cool. You
That would
know,
be crazy.
now you got me thinking. Cash rules everything around me. The
Yeah,
I love the Wu-Tang Dark Side of the Moon one you did. I think that might be the most recent one you posted as of this. That
yeah.
is
That was.
so crisp.
I painted that yesterday. Yeah,
Was that
that
your
came out
idea or was
nice.
that a commission?
That was my idea. That's one thing I wanted to do for myself. I had that idea probably about a month ago, and just came around to doing it.
It is
Plus, it
funny.
was Wu Tang, so
Yeah,
it was a good time to do it.
it's funny how like, I mean, what like Wu-Tang and Pink Floyd could not be any sonically different in like, like in years apart in like just in totally different approaches to music. But it's amazing how
So,
well, and now I'm thinking about how cool like the blends and mashups you could do. But
mm,
yeah, it's so crisp and beautiful.
Wu Tang fits with anything, man.
It
Anything.
really it really
Yeah,
does. It does. It
does.
it does.
Yeah, it's a crazy mashup, but I think it worked well.
Yeah.
I'm happy with how it came out.
So what about your own personal taste in music and art? Like what are some things that got you excited to, draw or like what you might have saw as a kid or influenced you?
Um, Comic books definitely influenced me.
You Marvel or
Hip hop,
DC or
probably lean towards more DC, but I'm sort of middle ground.
yeah.
Yeah, hip hop, graffiti. I'm big into graffiti. That's a big motivator. I practice sometimes, but my graffiti hand isn't the best at the moment.
Same with me. It's spray paint something that I've never got that real
So
control over.
I think it's so difficult to get used to. It's my line work. My line work's horrible with
Yeah.
spray paints.
It's an expensive
But yeah,
hobby to learn,
yeah, it is.
because
Them
I'm not
cans
really
run out.
someone who's going to go into a Home Depot and rip off 30 cans of spray paint. I think that's why it's cheaper for other people. Like I don't, I'm not, don't think I can
Yeah,
get away with that, but
yeah. Graffiti is a big motivator. I'll probably say graffiti, and I'm into 80s hip hop and 90s hip hop. Probably 90s golden era for me. That seems to motivate me a lot. Like I'll listen to a song and I'll hear a lyric, and then a lyric will give me an idea what to do. I get
yeah.
that with MFD. Yeah, I listen to a lot of lyrics and then think from there.
There, it does seem like I think, from even like just a spending perspective, I think there's probably people right now that are more interested in spending money on the 90s era hip hop. Like it's like, it's like when you say 2000s era hip hop, I don't really even know who you think of. It's like, I guess like 50 Cent and stuff like that, but it's really the 90s, like there's a Tribe Called Quest. Obviously Wu-Tang, there's Biggie and Tupac and Big L. And I mean, I'm
So,
talking about Digital Underground. It's like and Naughty by Nature and Slick Rick and Dr. Dre and the Snoop. It's like that is there's definitely something special about that era. And even cross-colored clothing is coming back. Like that's.
yeah, that's crazy, man. That's still popping now, man. We need
Yeah,
that still back.
yeah, yeah. It's like there's
I
something
probably
about that era that was so special to people.
I think Run DMC probably the first hip hop group I ever listened to, which got me onto hip hop. It was it's like that.
So you
With
mentioned you're 29, right? Is that what you said?
but yeah, 29,
So
93 I was born.
so even for me, I was born in 79. I heard Run DMC for me was already sort of out of style when I started getting into hip hop. And I did have the Down with the King tape, which is one of my favorite Run DMC albums. But in hindsight, that was like one of their attempts to kind of modernize their sound. And I love that album, but it was sort of like it was a turn for them.
Yeah,
So considering they were almost in they were stale when I was a kid, but they came back. They were just in like a dip and like, where old school was
yeah.
kind of being run over. How did Run DMC land on your radar? Like, that much later.
I have no idea. I would have been young when I first heard them. I would have been maybe 5 years old. And it would have been just people in my house. I got older brothers I used to live with. They influenced my music taste a big time. Like they used to listen to a lot of music, what I listen to still nowadays. You know what I mean? So I'd say just being around people again, being around them kind of people.
It's amazing how like older brothers and stuff can give you some of the best taste in music and some of the worst. Where you're like, oh, I thought this was great. And it's like I now own like a Warrant tape. I'm like, yeah, she's my cherry pie. Like I don't know if I'm gonna listen to that again. but it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. You ever do any formal training with art?
Any formal training?
Yeah.
No,
You never took any classes or anything?
never.
Yeah,
It's,
I think I might have taken like, a little summer class or something, or but that was about it. It's
besides what I learned in school, I'd say I've never done anything since. Just
yeah.
self-taught and people around me, my friends. So we have a lot of paint nights every now and again. So I'll get a lot of information from artists I chill with.
Yeah, and that's
But
something
no, yeah,
too that so many artists are so introverted. Having a community like that where you actually can share information, that sounds like it's been something that's been really helpful for you.
yeah, definitely. That leads back to being at the tattoo shop I used to work at because that's where we have our paint nights. You know what I mean? They'll close up shop 7 o'clock and then stay there till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, have a paint. So there's 4, 5, 6 of you in there, and you're just having a chill while doing a tick painting. You're just not tossing information around.
That's
You,
yeah,
you, you learn a lot and you realise. I think having them notes, I
yeah.
think it's good to have them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is funny too, because we talk about how we have our own perception. Like there's kind of like different versions of our own art. Because there's the one that we see when we look at it. There's the one that like the buyer sees, but then there's the one that the other artist sees. And I think especially too
yeah,
with as a rapper, so many rappers rap for other rappers instead of rapping for an audience. Do you, because they'll be like, oh yeah, so and so is gonna be so impressed with this, but it's like they don't always think about, oh, is the audience really, who is this really for? um do you find that you get different feedback from the people that are spending money or the than you do from the people that are your peers?
I find clients to be quite easy to work with. I've never really had any issues with clients, and they're always over the moon with the pieces. But whenever I get any criticism from my other artist friends, any other artists, I always know it's to benefit me. It's never malicious. It's always in good intent. It's never really criticism. It's just, oh, you could do this instead, or why don't you do this instead?
Yeah,
Well, that's good. That's good to have that around you. I think
yeah,
keep you on your
that
toes.
it is good, because sometimes it's like you're too close to something to really see, like, oh yeah, like that, like
Yeah,
then it's like once you see it, you're just like, oh yeah, that's why wasn't I doing that all along? I
that's
always have
getting
those moments where I run this more in like my day job, where I'll figure out some way to code something, and I'll be like, I feel so happy about all, like I can either feel miserable about all the time I wasted in the past, or feel happy about all the time that I'm saved in the future. And I always try to lean towards it. It's like, oh, if I'd known this 2 years ago, like, I would have had
you
time
know.
to do those 30 push-ups every day.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is your what are now that you're a couple years into doing this full time, what is your sort of long-term ambition, or even ambition for the next few years?
I wouldn't say I've got any major plans or ambitions besides to keep doing what I'm doing and making a living from it.
Mhm.
That's probably my main goal, just to obviously to always get to achieve bigger and better. But
Mhm.
I'm happy with the slow pace. I'm happy as long as I'm working comfortable. I'm earning a decent enough living. But so things might change. I might have bigger goals come soon, I suppose. But for now, I'm content at the moment.
Yeah. Well, the more people who see your stuff, the more opportunities tend to, like, and that's sort of what I told people when they're like, well, why are you doing this album with the other artists? And I'm like, it's not that I think I'm going to make money off of it, is that I'm curious what opportunities will open up when more people hear my stuff. And it's
Yeah,
like, it's like I'm always thinking like maybe 5 paydays down the road, where it's like, if I can do this, if I invest this, that might give an opportunity to do this and this and this, and maybe at the end of the road there's like that big payday. But it's like, when your stuff is exactly, I saw it years ago, but I see it more and more in these groups, and the feedback is always awesome. So it feels like,
yeah.
just getting your name out there more is going to keep these opportunities coming.
But luckily enough, yeah, I've got like a great client base. I've got always get a lot of great feedback. I've never had any negative conversations to do with any customers and do my art. Luckily, I don't think I've. So things have run quite smooth, and I'm good at painting the art. I find the admin side and the social media side the hard part
Yeah.
always. But I think I'm good. I'm happy to say I've never had any real negative feedback either. That's good.
Do you sell in person as well?
at conventions and stuff like that now and again. I worked, I think, 2 or 3 conventions last year. I've done none this year. I've got one coming up in August, possibly.
Are those
But yeah,
like Comic Cons, or like what type of conventions are they?
it's tattoo conventions.
Oh, cool.
So like a market stall in between all the in between all the tattoo artists. I've done that a few times.
Excellent.
I'd say one thing that did hold me back though, I'm quite, like I'd say, introverted. For example, doing this interview was nervous at first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that might hold me back. I think I have a lot of people tell me you should video your work, like make a little YouTube channel, something like that, and just start putting out there. But I'm that introverted when it comes to stuff like that,
Yeah.
and that might hold me back. That might be one thing that hold me back from
It's funny.
opportunities.
That's actually the reason I started doing this podcast. Is so I moved out to I live in a town of about 5,000 people. That's like a couple hours away from Boston, like kind of middle of nowhere. And I don't really have any artist friends. Even when I lived closer, most of my friends were just people I met along the way, and they weren't really artists. And like I found that I was very shy at talking to other people. And like, so I started this by just talking to my friends. I'm like, these are people that, they make art, but I haven't seen them in years because they live on the other side of the country.
Yeah,
And I felt like shy about talking to them. And then after like 4 or 5 episodes, it was just like drawing the portraits every day. I didn't even sweat it. Like,
I'm second.
and yeah, like you get used to it so quickly. Like, especially if you're someone like you who's obviously good at learning things and talented. Like, I don't like I probably should do more prep than I do, but now I'm just like, yeah, I'll figure it out. And I'm never like, you know, nervous
That's
anymore.
I'll figure it out every
Yeah,
time. I'll
yeah,
deal
yeah,
with it
yeah,
when
yeah. Because today I
yeah.
have an interview later today with this guy. I don't know if do you ever listen to techno music?
No, not a lot.
Okay, so I was a big like rave kid, and when I was younger, and there's this label called Moonshine Music. They were one of the biggest techno labels in the world back then. They had all the big artists, and they just one day kind of like disappeared. And I always wondered what happened to them. And so I was like, I'm just gonna track down the guy who founded it and see if he'll be on the podcast. And I hit him up, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I've been having a question for like 20 years about what happened to this, and like all of a sudden, I'm just like, within 6 months of doing this, I can get my answer firsthand. And I'm like, that it's like this thing paid off in a weird way. And it's funny how like once you start developing, because like I'm a little like kind of autistic and like ADHD and like all of that stuff, and I'm a weirdo. But it's like I feel less like that the more I do talking and like this to like the random void. So for what that's worth,
Yeah,
So
that's
I don't
mad.
know.
Waiting all these years to ask the question as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, it's
And
weird.
just reach out and ask. It's
Yeah,
crazy, isn't it?
yeah, it's funny too. Like because like when you go to school to learn math, you're going to get good at math. Like that's the one thing that if you work hard you will. But if you
Yeah.
start pursuing the arts, you don't know what's going to come of it. Like it's like these
Nah,
surprises come out. It's like growth. It's like a tree where not every tree grows the same way. It's like you don't know what direction your branches are going to go in. Just
don't
give
know what's
yourself
gonna
over
happen.
to it.
When I started doing my drawings 7, 8 years ago, I never thought for a second I'd be painting on dollar bills for a living now. You don't know what's gonna happen at all.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good thing about it.
Yeah, I did a painting of a cow because a guy I used to work with went into a coffee shop and saw a cow painting. He likes, can you do one of these for me? I'm like, all right. So I did it, and then a local brewery saw it, and they're like, hey, we've been looking for a cow art for our beer. Want to do it? And it was like the first beer they're canning, and I did every can they did the entire run of like all the different art. And you're like, there's no way to predict that. Like,
No, not at all. It's crazy what can happen.
yeah, it's that. It's why it's just about like they say that like opportunity is it I know it's like luck meets hard work and luck, it's a hard work and opportunity equals luck. I don't fucking know what it is, but like it's like just be ready for those opportunities when they come up.
Yeah,
you know?
be ready for it.
Yeah. Have you had any I know some of these a lot of the artists you do are no longer with us or just probably don't have a lot of presence, but have you ever had any artists you've done bills for reach out to you or like any interaction with the subjects of the art?
Um, Not me directly, but one of my customers from out in LA again. She's had a Griselda set, Conway, Westside Gun, Benny,
I
and she got
saw
all
that.
three of
It's
them.
beautiful.
She did meet and greets with all three of them and got all three signed.
Oh,
That's one thing that's shit about living in England. We don't get those chances very much with a lot of the American artists I listen to.
yeah. R.I.P. Doom too. He, I mean, I
Rest
don't know where he. I mean, he would. I would. So was I know we're taking a big left turn here, but it just occurred to me. With Doom living over there, did it ever feel like he was there? I know it's kind of a weird question, but it's like, yeah, I mean,
Not
the
at
guy
all.
probably was living in like, in not in hiding, but like low profile.
Yeah, a bit low key. But no, I never felt for a second that he was living in England. It's MF Doom's New York, as far as we're concerned. You know what I mean?
Right,
Well,
right.
back in the day where he came from, but
Yeah.
he never. I always associated him with East Coast in the more recent times. It just didn't feel like he was here.
So I'm guessing you've been a fan of his for a while.
Yeah, quite a few years.
What
So,
inspires you about Doom? I mean, because he's somebody who his name comes up a lot in this podcast, and I think he's someone the world's going to be talking about. One comment that gets made here a lot is we talk about Jay Dilla and how he's been gone for way longer than you'd think. And it's like 2006, and his name is still there. That Doom will be like that plus more. So
definitely.
what is it that grabbed you about Doom?
I'll probably say his flow. His flow is just crazy. Lyrics also. You know what I mean? Doom just there's not many bad things I could say about Doom. I couldn't say anything bad about him.
Yeah,
Look, everything about him was amazing, man. He was amazing. He was top five rapper for me.
me too.
I'd say. Yeah, he's just crazy, man. The album covers, they're always fucking mad. The food cover, man,
Yes.
that's crazy.
Yeah. And it's weird. I had this, so I'm actually working on this film right now. I had invented this character called Oxy Astronaut, and this astronaut that kind of has ox over its eyes. And I'm doing this version of this film where it's like this, I'm taking my album called Drinking Songs for Children, and every video is going to be a different version of my ox character. One's going to be a cartoon, and one's like a black and white,
Oh,
whatever, all this stuff. And like, I thought this was like a really original idea. And then someone pointed out to me, you ever notice on every Doom cover, you get a different version of Doom? And I'm like, I'm basically doing a movie that's like he did. It's like everything is, you never see the same Doom twice. And I'm like, motherfucker, that dude is really deep in me.
yeah, yeah. Man, it's mad with art. Like a lot of ideas have been done. It's
Yeah.
hard to think of those fresh ideas in this day and age.
Yep. Because then I also noticed that on the cover of the KMD album, Black Bastards, there was the character has an O and an X over his eyes. And I'm like, God damn it. That was definitely not intentional, but whatever. Um,
Yeah, well,
So you mentioned the hip hop scene over there. I don't know if you can see in the background. I have the poster of the Streets first album, original pirate material. It's like right
oh
behind them,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
painted that on the bill also.
Oh, really? Yeah. Mike Skinner. I think that's his real name. I've been a fan of
Yeah,
them's. I think that one I got that signed in LA at some point. But you that when I think of British hip hop, that's the first name I always think of because I've been listening to him for 20 years. Like, are you a fan of the Streets, or like what is it? What is the British hip hop scene like in general?
I'm not too up to date with British hip hop to be honest. It's more so grime over in England. Mike Skinner and the Streets are actually about 20 minutes away from where I live. They're in
Oh,
Birmingham, I live in Brampton, so they're quite close. But yeah, it's more of a grime scene in England. Hip hop scene's still good though, but I listen to mainly American hip hop. To be honest, I'm not really tapped into English. I've never found it's never really stood out to me. I'd say not to put it down or anything like that.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's like the one
But I
thing
just prefer
yeah,
definitely as well.
I feel like hip hop is probably one of the biggest cultural exports from America in the past like 50 years. It's like what else has been an American art form that has spread like that? Like this on a global scale. It's like hip hop and the Ninja Turtles, or like what America
Yeah,
has given the world in the past like 50 years. Enjoy.
grown crazy as well. I think it's like the biggest genre of music currently, isn't it?
I know. And when I was a kid, everyone's like, it's gonna go away like disco.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I was the
last.
one kid who listened to hip hop, and I got so much shit over it. And it's like, I don't know. I'm not gonna bitch
It's
about
finding
that
the right
today.
hip hop as well. You can find bad in anything. It's finding the right music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
I
I tell
mean,
people, like, when I run is just what I call like normal people that like don't like listen to like hip hop and stuff. Like, I'm like, listen, everything that you hate about hip hop, I also hate about hip hop. Like, I
well,
hate yeah. I'm like, think of a hip hop video and think of what you hate of it, and I also hate that stuff. You know?
exactly.
there's great, it's great, it's great, amazing stuff there. Like I was so happy the first time I got my dad to listen to a rap song and enjoy it without really knowing that's what was happening. I think it was like an
Yeah.
atmosphere song. I'm like, I'm sliding this one in. But I don't know, man. So how much time, I'm, art is never a 9 to 5 job, but what percentage, like how much time are you spending on what you call like your business of art at a given time?
Let's say like a normal day back home, because since I've been out here, it's been a bit different. Um, Maybe I'll get up about 9 o'clock, 8:30. I'll start work about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then I'll probably work through till 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock p.m. So what's that time? That's
Yeah, so
nine.
it's so basically like a work day, like 8, 9, 10 hour
Yeah, like a
day.
regular work day. But I'll probably have like a break or two in between, like an hour break to do other things. I have to go to the post office, send bits out. But I'll work every day. I'll work pretty much every day. You know, what I mean, I do like Saturdays, Sundays, every day is a work day.
Does
Um,
how much of it like feels like work? And I know you're fresh, you're only a few years away from doing something that I'm sure felt a lot like work. But like is it still feel like that feeling of gratitude of I get to do this, like this is a special thing?
Definitely with every piece, yeah, gratitude all the time. But occasionally it can sometimes feel a bit like a job.
Mhm.
Whenever that happens, I'll take a day or two off and just come back with a fresh mindset, because you never want to work unmotivated.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll take a bit of time off instead, come back.
So
Um,
if there was like one aspect of, because you're essentially you're kind of running a one-man business, I'm
yeah,
assuming, if there was one or two aspects of that you could farm off to somebody else, like be happy to give up, what would that be?
the admin side of the job.
Yep.
Um, I find it's not even that hard work. It's not even hard work at all. But uploading every day or every other day. By the time the work day is finished, I'll put my phone down, put it to the side, but then I've got to pick it back up to go and make my uploads and stuff like that. I'll probably say admin's the biggest
Yeah.
graft,
That's
but
fine,
that's
'cause
not
without,
too bad though. I can't
yeah.
really moan anything. I can't really moan too much about anything because I'm grateful for what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Without
Definitely.
question, like the worst part of this podcast for me is having to make the little graphics and then like waiting for files to bounce down. It's like everything else is just not even a job. There's a
Hard
little bit that I'm
work
like,
conversation,
yeah, yeah. It's like,
and the
can I get
work
an
starts.
intern for this? Like, isn't there some kid that I could just give to for
That's
free?
right.
Like we can pretend
Yeah,
this
man.
is, you know. Um, So I'll probably wrap up here in a few minutes, but what do you like any like closing thoughts or anything you got coming up soon that you're excited about? This will probably air in the beginning of September because recently I've been lucky. Everybody I've asked has said yes, as opposed to like 4 months ago, and everybody I asked said maybe. And like now I have too many episodes that I'm recording this week. So this will go in about September. But anything that you got coming up that you're excited about, or you know, any like by then you might be looking at Christmas orders.
I'll probably say that hip hop series of the uncut sheets. As long as I can get a hold of them, that's probably the next big series I'll be working on. Um, I've been looking into t-shirts lately,
Oh,
but I've not looked too much into it at the moment. But that's probably something I'll probably get in next as well. Try and get some little logos on t-shirts, something like
you know what would look
that. Not
wild is
logos, just t-shirts.
I had a friend who was on an episode that already aired by now, who goes by Tress Passion, and he goes like he goes to he's an urban explorer. He goes to places that you're not supposed to be and takes these crazy pictures of like decayed mental institutions and stuff. And he went to Chernobyl and has all these pictures of like gas masks. And he made these t-shirts that are like full wraparound all over print of like paint that's like stripped off of walls, and it looks amazing. It would be cool to have like a pile of your money, all the different bills scattered around on like an all over shirt. Like that might look
Bro,
dope.
that'd be a mad idea.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
I'll if I find a picture of the t-shirt, I'll send it to you so you have an idea what I'm talking about. But like that would look
Yeah,
cool, man. Like,
that'd be crazy. That would, man. I never even thought of anything like
yeah, I didn't until I said it, to be honest with you.
that.
That's
The
why we
dollars
do
can
these things.
the dollars make mad ideas for a lot of things, man. Just because they're that different.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because like you could have stumbled upon this is something to just talk a little bit of encouragement for other artists out there, is that like they talk about how I don't know, Edison probably invented the light bulb on his 90 something try, whatever the number it is. And it's like
Yeah,
you could have come up with 50 other things you could have drawn on that, like you could have been like, oh, I'm gonna do cereal boxes, and the world could have been like, who gives a shit?
exactly.
Right. Or it could have been, oh, like, this mouse, anybody want a mouse with paint on it? And like, it's gonna come off on your fingers. That's a dumb idea. You know, I once asked someone to do a custom yo-yo, and it would have been a lot of money for what I was willing to pay for. And they're like, no, that's dumb. Like, but the dollar bill is something that is not objectively brilliant when you think of it. But when it gets put into action because you're trying something, it becomes something
Yeah.
that's pretty brilliant. And
When you see the
so,
end result,
yeah. So like, was there a process of like, were there like 50 like scrapped items on your floor that you drew that didn't hit first, or was the dollar bill just like that?
first time was definitely one and done. I've had not many instances where I've had to fucking throw the dollar away. Usually they turn out okay.
No,
Or
but I mean,
usually
like, did
if
you
I'm
have like, was there other stuff you tried to draw on first before you arrived at the dollar bill as being like the thing that like, were you like looking around your desk like, oh, I can draw on this ashtray and maybe sell this?
I think dollar bill was the first thing.
Yeah.
I think it might have been that. I think one of the guys I know from the tattoo shop, he gave me some hundreds, but fake ones, and I'm sure I had one of those. Like one of the first ones I painted also. Yeah, I've tried to paint a Rubik's cube recently. I tried to paint an MF Doom Rubik's cube,
Oh.
um, but I
So
need to.
would that be so that when it's totally so that you have to move it
When,
around to solve
yeah,
it?
when it's
Holy shit,
sold,
that's a good
pictures come
idea.
together. And I know how to do a cube, so I was gonna put it together on video, but the paint didn't stick quite well to the cube. I need to back to the drawing board and come back to that one.
Yeah, you might have to
But that would
get
have been,
like your own like squares, like you might have to like
yeah.
to draw it yourself and then cut it up and put like your own squares on the actual cube or something.
I think I can figure it out. But
Yeah.
I'll circle back to that one. But that'll be a dope idea. That's
That is
probably
an
not something
awesome idea.
as commissions as much as I do with dollar bills though.
Yeah.
That'll be just like I'd
Yeah,
make
yeah, yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. How long does it take you to do a bill? I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit of like, but like what is it
Yeah.
usually?
I'd probably say on average, maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours,
Oh,
90 minutes ish to 2 hours. Some can take a lot longer, and some can. I did one yesterday that took like 40 minutes. So some can be quicker, but average I'd say maybe 40 minutes.
now, when you started, was that like I'm a big person on process, and I love when something starts at 8 hours and it gets down to 1 hour. Was there like kind of a learning curve towards doing it where you're like, this was something that I like used to take me 4, but now it takes me 1, or is it?
Yeah, it used to take a bit longer at first, but over time, when you get comfortable with how to work on the bill, the best process that speeds up the time a lot. I used to line everything first, and then fill the color, and now I'll do the color first and line last because it saves you a ton of time.
That's a lesson that I have only recently half learned. I say half learned because
It,
sometimes I do something I don't. That makes a big difference that you do the color
it does,
first.
yeah. It's
Like,
a, it's a big saver.
it's just like, oh man. Like and it's like I can't learn. It's like I'm glad this is on record because maybe now I'll remember it. But that's a lesson, everybody. Do the color first and do the lines last.
Yeah,
Because
I'd
that's
recommend it.
the biggest lesson I give people about artists who want to learn is like, because the first thing everybody learns with is a pencil typically. And I'm like,
Yeah,
the biggest mistake artists make is they press too hard on the pencil. Because I erase almost every time I do a piece of art, I almost always erase the first thing that touches the page. Inevitably, it's not right. And people start with too heavy of a hand and they can't erase it, and they're stuck looking at this divot in the page, their mistake the entire time.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
light with the pencil is the best advice to avoid discouraging when we're at the very beginning. So if there's any like 5-year-olds watching this, like light with the
Yeah.
pencil.
It's a pain when you get those lines when you've rubbed it out, but the lines are still there.
Yeah.
A nuisance.
And like, I'll ask you for one more tip. So when you're going along and maybe you're 2/3 of the way done and something goes a little off, can you save it? Like what, any tips for like maybe something runs a little bit? Is there any chance to save it in that moment, or do you just have to kind of live with it?
It depends. I've had that issue a few times. If I do a piece with a full background, usually I can save it. usually I can say you got room then to fix things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in general, I'll say I can save a lot of pieces. I have issues sometimes where I make a mistake, but it's a lot of times it's savable. I say not many times I've had to throw the piece away. But usually, if it comes to I've made a mistake, I'll walk away, go do something else for an hour, come back in a little bit, and then I say it refreshes your mindset. So you ain't already thinking I've got to redo this now, blah blah blah. He's come back fresh, easy fix, and then crack on.
This is a nerdy question, but something that I have had to deal with. I had to quit drawing with my right hand at a certain point because I drew too much, it hurt, and I started drawing with my left hand, which was surprisingly I did pretty well with. But like, what do you do to protect your most important instruments, your hands?
Not a lot. I'm quite silly. I don't know. See, I can't do what you did. I can't use my left hand, so I'm right only.
You know what happened with me is I wanted to be a DJ back in the day, and I wanted to scratch, and I figured I had to get ambidextrous, so I started using my mouse with my left hand, and I quit being a DJ, but I did that for like 15 years, so I think it just formed the pathways in my brain, so I was able to do it left-handed.
Yeah. I just try not to overwork. I get cramped up quite a bit with my hands. Just always take a bit of a breather. That's what I always do. I don't work too long in one sitting. I might have a 10-minute break quite often, something like that. Yeah.
You seem like you've got a lot figured out, man. I'm real glad we had this opportunity to talk because, like, I like everything about what you do. Your art, your attitude towards it. It seems like you're really appreciating like this awesome thing you've built, and that's what every artist wants, man. And it's
one thing that keeps me motivated is when I used to work an actual job. I used to work on site, just being a labourer. It was a horrible job. So I'm grateful every day that I'm not doing what I used to do. That's my biggest motivator. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that works well to motivate.
I'm with you, man. So, all right, go check out your stuff. I'm gonna have your social media up here the entire time. I'm gonna talk to you. I'll shoot you some messages once I fully get the idea of the stuff I want, but I got some ideas on it. And yeah, definitely. I'm sure you've probably seen this stuff already before this episode, but Abb Till, check them out everywhere. And it's been a pleasure talking to you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you.
All right, later.